The long, gangly limbs, the black, oily skin, the bilious, yellow eyes, and that awful grin, ear to ear, yet somehow expression seems emotionless. My hand. Its voice comes again, guttural and strange. It takes another step forward. So I bolt from my hiding place. What about your ankle? Oh, here we go. It's a battle scene. And I go reeling onto my feet like a mannequin wrenched by its strings. I manage to limp away, although my ankle burns with each step. The thing clambers over a rotten log, and I turn to hastily fumble open my pouches. A rule. A rule. I need a rule. Alright, so he's coming at me, right? So let's throw the bone out so he has to face the bone. I like that idea. I yank the bone out of its pouch, holding it like a torch as I stumble backwards. To no effect. Crap. I can retreat northeast, or I can brandish the coin. I jam my hand back into the satchel, where I manage to find the coin. Get back! My voice cracks. I wave the coin desperately, hoping for a miracle. And then cringe as it paces ever closer. But there is no teeth on my skin, nor any fingers wrapped around my throat. It stands there, stares, and holds out its hand. Take my hand, it gurgles. I hesitate. You can't hurt me, can you? My hand. Just as I thought. Something has it bound. Some rule, though I can't imagine what. The thing certainly doesn't seem capable of taking me, at least for the moment, though it's unusual that one would be made so docile by just one rule. And though any further action might trigger the thing, I can't resist the temptation to experiment. Attempt communication or examine it? Let's examine it. Stepping gingerly on my bad ankle, I maneuver to take a closer look. Jorgen, my hand. But the suddenness of its speaking catches me off guard, and I flinch backwards again. Well, somehow it's not really speaking. Its mouth doesn't move when it talks, and neither do its teeth part. On closer inspection, I find its grin isn't segmented into actual teeth at all. Rather, it's like a single block of bony material with deep, wide grooves, as if the thing were carved or whittled into a man's crude likeness from some wholly wretched material. And as I examine the thing, I notice the light of its eyes shifts subtly, and I get the feeling that it's inspecting me as well. There's something revolting about it that goes beyond its emaciated appearance. It emanates a gut-churning sense of wrong. My mouth begins to water, and for a moment, it's all I can do not to vomit. I back up a few paces, stumbling as if drunk, and raise my fingers to the bridge of my nose, where my face feels numb and cloudy. I need to kill it. Find something to kill it with or attempt communication? Find something to kill it with. It doesn't look like the branches on the trees are thick enough to bludgeon it. They're more like switches than clubs. Maybe there's a good-sized rock around. There has to be something around here that I can use as a weapon. I just need to find it. I tried clicking to see if that, and that didn't do anything. Or now I can, maybe? Okay, yeah, I can click on that sword. The glint of moonlight on metal catches my eye, and my hand closes around something familiar. The hilt of the old arming sword. It must have fallen out of my scabbard when I was crawling. I run my thumb along the edge of the blade, Every storm cloud has its silver lining after all. Nice and easy now. It might try to defend itself. I choke up in the grip and wedge my other hand onto the hilt beneath it. Jorgen! It coughs, and perhaps it's just my imagination, but it sounds almost plaintive. Undaunted, I advance, pulling the sword back like I'm chopping wood. One good strong blow. If I can't outright kill it in the first strike, I should at least be able to cripple it. A bead of sweat drips down my temple and hangs on the contour of my jaw. My muscles are tight to the point of trembling. I swing. My strike catches it in the side of the neck, sinking deep into its throat with a wet, heavy thud. Its body melts like a candle as it takes the blow, drooping over and losing its shape. Startled, I throw my back against a tree trunk as the thing pulls onto the forest floor with one last moan. My hand! And with that, it disappears. My breath spills out of me. Only now can I feel the fresh droplets running down my face. Exhausted, I slide down the trunk. After a few attempts, I manage to slide my arming sword back into its scabbard. And I lie for a while on my bed of dirt and pine needles. Trying to stand still proves difficult. I attempt to use an arm as an aid, but it might as well have been made of jelly. And so I recline against the trunk, staring out into nothing and listening to the sound of my own breathing. I should get going, I say with a yawn. Gotta figure out where I am. I really should. And in the din of my dreams, I feel something seep and stir. Softer than sin, darker than color. That hand hovers before me like an ill prophecy. Walkerman. To be continued. Oh, that's it? That's it? What the hell? Anticipate the next episode, Act 1. Welcome to Midgard. This is where you should save your game. Okay, I thought it was over. Like, what? It can't be over. We didn't do anything. Okay, cool. So, that's awesome. Okay, I guess that was just a tutorial then. That was pretty good. Let's carry on. I mean, there's no reason to stop, so let's just keep going. Midgard. For generations, the world had quaked in the shadow of its raiding season. Every winter, the icy or the city-state was a hive of activity, with raiding crafts smothering the harbor and vulture merchants jockeying for the looted goods. That all ended 11 years ago. Europa had always been a favored target for the raids. The barbarians and their loose, divided petty kingdoms made for easy marks. It's Ireland. But the swell of that southern region, Got, had recently united the continent in confederation, and under the guidance of their ecclesiarchs, the Godland Confederacy had prepared a gambit for the raiders. One petty kingdom acted as a lure, refusing to pay their annual tribute and returning Midgard's envoy with his hat nailed to his head. Ugh! So the guys came to collect from the barbarians, and the barbarians took his hat and nailed it to his head. Said, get the hell out of here, we ain't paying. Sounds like Braveheart stuff right there, I like it. The whole act smelled of bait, but indignation proved the stronger motivator. And so the whole of the winter raid set out for Goddard shores. 2 days sailing from the city-state to the Petulant Kingdom. On the second day, the wind spoiled, so the raiders slotted their oars and began to drag themselves across the brine. They sat anonymous in their creaking seats, their faces hidden beneath nasal helmets, and their hauberks were wetted with spray, so that pulling in unison, they appeared like many oiled automaton for some toy navy cranking its way across the sea. On they rode, up and down the azure rolls, a canvas of whited Gagas. What? Adrift upon that formless and alien plane sent a heavy endlessly around them. There was not a woman among them, and they had left all pleasantries on Midgard's harbor to save for weight. They sang and swore and chastised the young men who struggled at their stations, their backs unaccustomed to the labors of raiding craft. When the sky sank into darkness, the raiders looked upon the lights spilt across heaven's floor and knew that they'd stayed their course by the ancient guildsmen overhead, those twinkling instruments of legend who pointed out the way. So they rode without pause through the night, and by noon of the next day, the black from Europa's silhouette had spread across the horizon like a gathering storm. But the raiders found a fleet of Goddard galleys awaiting their arrival, with war machines perched on their decks, bombards, ballista, flame spitters, and contraptions the like of which they'd not seen before. And as the wind picked up and drew the galleys closer, their weaponry began to glitter in the sun. The Gotlanders had decorated their instruments like festival floats, piling them with flowers, wicker effigies, and precious metals engraved with scripture. A parade to the ingenuity of man's cruel nature. You guys got you baited! Hey, come on in! The first volley tore through man and craft alike as they were wet cloth, and the pieces sank quickly beneath the waves. Some of the raiders stood up and drew arms. Others sat dumb in their boats, still gripping the oars as the grape shot came thundering down again. Listen to the noises in the background. The raiders were adept at coastal incursions, but their crafts were not built for naval battle. The command to reverse row was heard, and desperate through the rip of fire, and the vessels turned almost lazily with their chaotic rowing, knocking into each other with oars flailing like the wings of some crushed insect. Again the shouting of coxswains, "Reverse row! Row, damn you!" And again the mad hailstorm, its missiles selected by the Goddards with childlike curiosity, bolts, saw blades, jars of lit pitch, and the carcass of a cow. Of the 200-some craft that set out for Europa, 43 remained. The bad years pulled into port with the survivors. But the Gotlanders were fickle men and unable to mount a siege to the city-state. Each petty king had the idea to raid his rival during the gambit, and the blockade eventually disbanded as they returned home to defend their holdings. But it was the last raid nonetheless. The vulture merchants abandoned Midgard to ply their trade elsewhere, and the city-state sank into a deep depression. Gotland rising and Midgard falling, like so many lapping waves of an empire. That was a long explanation. Wow, thanks. When I open my eyes again, it's already midday. I wonder if that was like really important or if it was just, unnecessary background. The wind stirs, shaking shadows of the canopy across my face and revealing glimpses of sun from behind its swaying boughs. And like the shade that plays upon my eyes, the memory of last night is hazy and vacillating. Here and there, recognizable fragments emerge. The dark and whirling shapes of trees, the panicked rhythm of my feet hitting the earth, and the pinpoints of those eyes, bright as lightning through the darkened weald. And come a beckoning from those verbal visions, I can still hear that terrible and choking request. Ain't used to thinking about it, I say. Ain't use in thinking about it, I say with a sigh. So I lock the memory of last night away, deep down. That's one good thing about memories. Their poor buoyancy. Sometimes if I shove one down hard enough, it won't surface again for years. I rise to my feet and rake the twigs and needles from my hair. Where the hell am I? I ask, but the answer is obvious. Still lost, somewhere in the weald. By luck alone, I manage to escape an encounter with the weird, but the sun will set again soon enough, so I grab my ruck by a single strap and hoist it across my back. And as I adjust the pack to sit comfortably over my hauberk, something catches my ear, flitting through the trees, high and dulcet. A song?